All right, today's question comes in from Claire McLafferty. And Claire writes in asking, how have you dealt with or gotten over imposter syndrome? Now, Claire, that's a great question. The reason it's a great question is, first off, it's something that, if there's one pushback that I've gotten from kind of everything that I've done, whether it be the courses I've created, my podcast, my blog articles, whatever it is, it's usually, if you really strip away the layers, it's almost always related to imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, I think, is what happens when we internalize, we think to ourselves, you know what, maybe we're not good enough to charge what we're thinking of charging, or maybe we can't be confident in what we're selling. Maybe we're not good enough. Maybe something's wrong. Where this often ends up kind of cropping its head is when somebody who has formerly charged a market rate, formerly just priced themselves based off of what everyone else is pricing, or what everyone else is charging, rather. The average salary as an hourly rate for somebody like them who is employed full time, or just kind of that lowest common denominator. When they try to break out of that and charge a premium and to, charge their clients more, that's usually when imposter syndrome comes to light. And it's something that, personally, I've had to wrestle with that a lot. I am pretty introverted. I've always been a little shy. I have struggled with confidence, throughout my childhood and also throughout my adulthood. And it's something that, nowadays I charge pretty significantly. My typical consulting rate is in the five figures, mid five figures a week or so. And if I had to look my client, a potential client, in the eye and say to them, hi, I'm Brennan and blah, 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 and eventually get to the point where, we're negotiating over the cost and everything else. If I had to look in their eye and quote, let's say $20,000 a week, if I wasn't confident in that, because it's significantly north of, market rate, if I wasn't confident in that, I would really have a hard time doing that. I would struggle a lot with needing to do that. And likewise, the first time when I launched Double Your Freelancing Rate, and it was this, at that time, an ebook that, it had a price tag on it. I think it was $39 is what I started it at. I was scared. What I was scared about was that well-meaning people would buy it, and then I'd get all these angry emails later saying, hey, you wasted my time, I want my money back. And, I think the same is often true of us. If we're going to charge a premium, something similar often happens inside of us. And to me, that's what imposter syndrome is. So how do you escape it? What Claire wants to know is, how can you overcome that kind of that nagging voice in your head that's saying, hey, Brennan, you're not worth it. You can't charge this. You can't do this. Well, if you think about why projects happen and why projects are sold, there's an equation that's there, right? The equation is money goes in, which is, let's just say it's an hourly rate. Your client pays you X an hour, and something comes out, value comes out. Usually it's in the form of some material tangible, like a 5-page website or 1,000 words of copy or a logo or something like that. So that's typically the equation. And what I think is that if you're going to change one end of the equation, it needs to balance the other end. So, in this case, let's say you want to charge a premium. You want to triple, double, quadruple, whatever it is you usually charge. Something needs to change on the value output side. So if you want the input to be 4x, the output needs to be commensurate. And that typically doesn't mean just becoming 4 times as good at what you do. There are a lot of ways that equation can kind of balance itself. And I've talked about that really in Double Your Freelancing Rate, along with in a lot of the articles on my blog. In my mind, what typically needs to happen is you need to be able to look at yourself and think, I know with certainty that what I'm producing is worth it. And in my mind, the way to do that is a lot of what I cover in Charge What You're Worth, my email course, and Double Your Freelancing Rate, and also, all throughout the blog, podcast, and so on. And that is understanding the value that you're capable of producing. So what is this project actually worth to your client? What will it do for their business? I mean, in my case, almost all of my projects result in some six-figure result for my clients. And typically, my budget is usually a week or two of my time, which is 20 to 40,000 typically in terms of budget. So 20 to 40,000 yields 100,000 plus. And I'm pretty confident in that because I've asked the right questions. I've used Socratic questioning. I've done a lot of my homework to really figure out what the value is that I'm affecting, or how valuable is the stuff I'm affecting. So if I'm affecting their underlying business model, or I'm helping them amplify the number of leads they get or something, I can then do a little work to quantify exactly what that means for their business so that when I get to the point of actually telling somebody what I charge, I'm not thinking, oh my God, like every other person who does. I mean, technically what I do is usually I do some coding, I do some design work, and I do some writing. So that's kind of the three different technicals of usually what an engagement of mine looks like. And if I was charging 20,000 plus a week, which comes out to being like $600-700 an hour usually, I would need. I mean, if I was just selling the same thing that people on Odesk were selling, that design, writing, coding, I would be really like, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I mean, I would feel like I'm some highway robber type person, right? So I think what needs to happen, what at least happened to me, was I started to really understand and display to a prospective client the value of a project so that when it came to the point of me saying, look, here's a clear path that we have to helping you make an extra $200,000 in the first year alone. And here's how, step by step by step. When I actually do come in with what I charge, this premium rate of mine, it doesn't, if it's a matter of spending, let's say 20,000 one week to make 200,000, I mean, who in their right mind wouldn't do that, right? I mean, if I had 20 grand sitting in my bank account and somebody came up to me and said, here's exactly how I can help you 10x that within this time frame, I would probably do that. I mean, obviously some things sound too good to be true, but if you can make a convincing case for how you can actually achieve that's what matters. So I guess in summary, what I would say is the way to overcome imposter syndrome is to understand how that equation works in your business. So value comes in, which is money. Value comes out, which is solutions, business solutions. Understand that problem and be able to vocalize that equation. Be able to talk to somebody and say to them, here's how this equation works. Here's, here are your costs, but here's the payoff. Here's the return on your investment. And once I started really focusing on myself as an investment versus just a line item expense in somebody's, annual budget, that's when I was able to really start inching up my costs. So, Claire, hopefully that helps. I know it's going to be different for all of us. I mean, I was never a natural salesperson. That's not me. So I've had to get really good at being able to quantify. When I sell, I like to quantify. I like to say, here's what you can expect, in this case financially, because you're spending money, so I want to show you how it's going to make you money. But some people are a little better at selling emotionally. I'm not a very emotional salesperson. I would be a very bad real estate agent because, what they often do is they'll say, hey, imagine yourself in this house, raising your kids, and imagine them, you looking out the kitchen window behind the sink and looking at your kids playing on the swing set. That's not how I sell, but it is going to be different for all of us. But I think a good common denominator would be really understand that equation, really understand the payoff that you're capable of bringing. And when that happens, it really becomes a no-brainer. You're not cheating anyone. You're not stealing anything. You're helping somebody be better off and helping them be better off in such a way that the value of not being better off outweighs significantly the input, which is what they paid. So Claire, hopefully that helps.